It's a league-winning Sunday. You can see the crest on my chest. For Liverpool fans around the world, blissful one. Picking up the Premier League title, the 20th Premier League title. Something some teams have not said in a long time. You know, that we have won the title. Somebody comes in from the Eredivisie and does it in his first season. Congratulations to Arne Slot, Liverpool, LeBron James, Virgil van Dijk, and all the stakeholders across board. Yeah, Charlie, you guys have done it big. Anyway, it's your one-stop show for all your highlights and also all your analysis. My two good friends are here. One of my friends' team have gone almost 14 years without winning a title. He's here. I'll introduce him soon. My other good friend belongs to a suffering Italian giant. These days, he doesn't even watch matches anymore. The guys in the studio, I'll be introducing them soon, but it's Scorecard. We have a lot for you. We have the Copa del Rey final as well. Harry Kane to miss Bayern's league-winning game possibly next weekend as well. A lot to come on the show today. Let's do a quick turnaround. When we come back, I'll introduce my good friends in the studio. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. My good friends are in the studio, Susu Graham and Coach Christopher Nimley. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I won my 20th Premier League title 13 years, 12, 13 years
Is it still in your memory? Like, you still remember?
It took you 30 years to win the league. It took you 3-0. I've just been deprived of this league about 12 years ago. Something I saw 12 years ago.
Just.
You are now jubilating.
Is 12 just? Oh, you are a man of numbers, so don't do this.
No, I'm comparing 12 to 30. 12 is not half of 30. That is what.
And Ben, I have to also correct you. I watched the match today.
Hey.
I was keenly watching the match.
Oh.
Okay. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, I was
I'm happy that you can stomach your team's games
No,
these
you
days.
see, sometimes the time is, we know a lot of the Italian games, they're in the evening. So sometimes it's just before we come on and things. Sometimes I was coming here, so it's difficult.
Fair. But as for you, I have to tell you that it will be well.
No, I don't need you to tell me
well.
to be well, because I have said and I have predicted that this season will go the way it is going.
Okay. Next
Minimum,
season, are you winning a title next
I will
season?
dance a picky in front of everybody here. I don't need you to remind me. I'll dance it here.
No, you see, you have not answered the question. You are trying to be like a lawyer. I said, will you win the title next season?
No, he said, if you remember, he said...
You can dance a picky because you are happy.
He guaranteed, he said that next season, if they buy good players for next summer and the summer after,
you win the league.
that second full year, they'll win the league. That's what he said. He
Okay.
said
So we win the league in 3 seasons. This is not
part of it.
Next season, through Amorim system, through Amorim players. The following season is in the bag.
So 15 years.
It's in the bag. At least better than 30.
Which is fair enough. Big shout outs to all of you guys who make time to watch the show. Please send us messages. The text and WhatsApp lines have been displayed on your screens.
Also, before we go, I have to apologize to someone. He's called Enzo Maresca.
Why?
Because I said that they won't get 6 points from the next.
Let me tell you something.
And they've gotten 6
on Saturday,
points.
on the Premier League,
somebody sent a message.
More than
And
one
it
person.
was like,
They say
if Chelsea is to make the Champions League.
They say you better come with your humble pie.
Oh no, me, I'm somewhere. If I say something, I'll take.
You own it.
Yeah, I own it. I didn't expect them to get 6 points. They've got their 6 points.
I like that.
I said I'll come and clap for Maresca if they get 6 points from their next year. And they've gotten their 6 already.
Fair
in
game.
Phase 2.
Chelsea fans, the man says that he's giving you pull your stone because you've picked up your 6 points.
But you know what?
There's still a long way to go.
They've said something, and I've told them, and I'm on record to have said that my team would deprive them of playing Champions League.
Man United?
Yes. So they have to make sure they qualify without having that United game to decide their qualification.
Or else they won't get through.
Douala.
That is why we love Scorecard. Let's get into the highlights and let's start off on the African continent. The CAF Champions League semi-finals happened over the weekend. First up, we had Mamelodi Sundowns taking on Al Ahly Football Club. Al Ahly Football Club could not make it to the next round, which is the final. So they have fired their manager. And then there's another final between Pyramids and Orlando Pirates. So South African teams and Egyptian teams showing that money, investment, and long-term planning is everything for football growth. Let's get the highlights. Finals is set. We have Pyramids FC and then we also have Mamelodi Sundowns. Let me start to you, Susu. All Egyptian, all South African affair is how this one played out. But in the end, we have both sides making it to the final. Just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for this final, I would look at Sundowns. I think they have more pedigree in their competition, a bit more experience in history. Pyramids is their first final. They are a fairly new team. It's a new money team, you know, kind of a businessman has kind of invested. They are making waves. Look, they are top of the league in Egypt as well. They are causing Al Ahly a lot of problems because Al Ahly are usually the team with the money. They can buy who they want, do what they want, and they have someone kind of challenging them. So it's an interesting dynamic, but very impressive nonetheless. But if you look at their results, they score and concede a lot more than the other teams. Because if you look through their run to the final, they have a lot of high-scoring games. And that makes me wonder, if you go into a final and you're a high-scoring team, do you have that security to kind of keep it tight, make it difficult? But impressive nonetheless. And it just shows the power of, you know, what money can do for teams. Because these are teams that their owners have invested heavily. Because look at Mamelodi Sundowns. You see them in the men's game, you see them in the women's game. They are a powerhouse in both aspects. Patrice Motsepe, he's very serious about his football. It shows he's trying to do more for CAF. You can see now we are seeing more CAF games, more World Cup qualifiers and stuff on. So I think African football is growing, is in a good place. You have the CAF Super League as well. Yeah. There's just a lot of interesting things going on. And it's very unfortunate our teams are not there. But it just shows that if there's a plan, there's an idea, you can go so far. So congratulations to the two teams. And it's going to be an interesting final for sure.
Good.
For me, I don't know, but first of all, I was happy Al Ahly didn't make the final.
Right.
They win too much.
Yeah, I mean, their dominance was becoming overly monopolized. It cannot be about them all the time. That is why it's a competition. When something is a competition, today Nketiah wins, tomorrow Chris wins, Susu have his fair share. Then we all come back, re-energize, and go at it again. And I'm shocked that they've sacked their manager for not getting to the final. He's won it twice. Back to back. So you expect him to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You fail to win, you are sacked. If I'm a coach, I won't get closer to such a team. Because at the end of the day, they need to understand that as part of football or as part of any form of competition, losing is part of it. If you don't understand what goes into you losing, you perceive yourself to be the best, and you can never be the best at all times. That is not practically possible. Yeah. So I was so happy that Sundowns managed to find a way. But Nketiah, having said that, look at the quality of the games.
Yeah.
For me, anytime I look at African football, my perception about our quality has completely changed. My only worry is the concentration and the focus our players attached when we have to compete with those from Europe. If you look at the African teams, even at the World Cup, we tend to do so well for 89 minutes. That last minute that we deserve to stay focused and get the job done, that is when we tend to mess up. But apart from that, the quality, the tactics, the technique, the ability, the skill, everything is top notch. Yeah. Look at the quality of the goals. Look at that Al Ahly first goal. Absolutely brilliant. And when I see something like this, I bring it down to the local scene. Yeah. Which of the Ghanaian teams can compete at the level? You may want to argue that 2 seasons ago, we had Dreams FC going all the way to the semi-finals. But that is one out of what? A million.
And it was very surprising because
we were all shocked.
The way Ghanaian teams have performed in Africa over the last, let me say, 15 20 years. Let's say 15 years, because 20 years ago we had the CAF Confederations Cup with Hearts and that. So in the last 15 years, I think there was maybe Brecum Chelsea in 2012.
Yes,
they did decently, and then after that, a long gap before Dreams FC. So it's a surprise.
Look, for them to have done what they did, amazing. But look, if you are a football administrator in Ghana, I don't know what their ambitions are or what the standard are. This is the standard. Yep. You sleep, you bring people on board that will get you up to that standard. Because look, the World Club Championship is in what, July? Yeah. Al Ahly will be there, Sundowns will be there. Appearance fee alone It's close to $10 million.
Yep. The money is crazy now.
$10 million.
Yep.
Every game you win, there's a money. Every goal you score, there's money to take home. Do you know what $10 million can do to the biggest team in Ghana? I don't want to talk about those minnows who are so badly in need of the money. A team like Kumasi Asante Kotoko, a team like Accra Hearts of Oak, this is where they belong. So this is where they belong.
Yep.
And this is where they were.
This is where they were.
This is where they used to
This
be.
is where they used to be 20, 30 years ago.
Exactly. And we've gone backwards. And the rate at which we keep going back, it's alarming.
Yes.
The last thing I want to add is look at how full the Al-Ali Stadium was.
Boy.
Pyramids, I mean, they've moved from where they were to Cairo. They're a fairly new team, so they don't have that organic fan base. But look at the Al-Ali fan base. That's how Kotoko and Hearts should be filling their stadium every week.
If Kotoko were to be doing well, you see what that stadium is about 80,000, bigger than the Kumasi Sports Stadium. But I trust Kumasi Asante Kotoko supporters.
They can fill that stadium.
Easily.
Easily.
They'll fill it with cheeky ease.
Easily.
But when at all are we going to get there? Look, you are sacking a coach with 6 games to go, all sort of in-house wrong management. Everything is just out of order. So I think we deserve to be where
Coach,
we
they
are.
won this weekend, but maybe
Well,
it's working.
let's
see, at the end of the day, yes. But like I said, that is the standard.
Yeah. Let's move the conversation going and let's get to the Premier League. Let's start off from Chelsea Football Club before we get to the champions. So Chelsea are fighting to book a slot for the Champions League. 5 slots available. It's a keenly contested fight. Now that the relegation places have been decided and the title has been decided, the attention now turns to the spots in Europe. They were up against Everton. Let's get that game. Chelsea Football Club picking up valuable 6 points in their last 2 games against Fulham, and now they've picked up these points as well. Coach, Nicholas Jackson scoring his first in 4.5 months. Last goal was in December 2024. He's been injured part of that way as well, so not all on him, but this was big relief for them. All the 3 points in the bag.
If you're a Chelsea fan, you want to hope that this can only set him on some decent run of goal scoring, because, truth be told, they need his goals as we speak. I think they have 4 more games or 5 more games to the end of the season. 4 more. So that 4 games is against Newcastle, it's against Liverpool, it's against Manchester United,
and
then with Forest
on the last day.
On the last day. That is away from the bridge on the last day. Every single game is a final for Chelsea. Do I want them to make the Champions League final? Of course, I'm not going to sit here and pretend. I wish they don't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend.
Why?
You're asking me why. You should know why. But at the end of the day, they have their destiny in their own hands.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. It's not about what I wish or what I want. You go out there
and do
play
what you
your
need
game,
to do.
win your games, and you're into the Champions League. Having said that, I was very, very impressed with them, especially in that first half. They came out knowing exactly what they needed to do. They imposed themselves on Everton. They detected the pace. And Enzo Fernandez, for a very, very long time, I think he's beginning to show some decent form in the middle of the park.
Lavia was really good as well on the day.
That ball, I think one of the downturn in the form of Chelsea is simply as a result of Lavia not being fit throughout the season. I don't know what his issues are, but even when he's walking, he can get injured. If you spend close to 50 million pounds, see, medically, the records were there. Somebody may argue about Mason Mount. Mason Mount had played practically he had only 1 injury-prone season. So United felt that this was just one.
It's actually a shocker how.
Yes, this was a player who was playing every game under Lampard, under Tuchel. All of a sudden, he gets hurt and he cannot recover his fitness. But for Latvia, the record has been there. He's never stayed fit as a player. Yet still, Chelsea spent, and he's so good a player that when you plug him out of the system begins to fumble. Anytime he's been in the team, He's brought the best out of Enzo Fernandez. He's brought the best out of Caicedo if he plays alongside him in midfield. And he drives the entire team forward. And they look a decent attacking threat. 6 points out of 6. As it stands, I think they are fifth in the league.
Yes, by on goal difference.
On goals difference.
Ahead of Forest.
Ahead of Forest, who has a game in hand. I think that they will begin to dream properly about Champions League football if they avoid defeat to Newcastle. As we speak now, Newcastle is third, isn't it?
Yep.
Yes, they are third, right behind us now. They have to, if they avoid defeat to Newcastle and Liverpool, I think the next game is against Liverpool. At the Bridge. Yeah, at the Bridge. So, again, that is a game they have to win. They have Liverpool and Manchester United at the Bridge. They have Newcastle and Forest away from the Bridge. Those Newcastle and Forest games in get here direct competitors for top 4 or top 5. So what you don't want to happen, you want to see whether you can wrap up Liverpool as champions. You cannot be sure of the mentality of the Liverpool players coming into that game. After all, we've won the league, but they will be under some good scrutiny. If rivalries is anything to go by, if I'm Liverpool, I will always remind myself of what happened to Liverpool when Steven Gerrard slipped. Chelsea had no chance of winning the league, but they practically prevented Liverpool from winning the league. At that time, you remember, Chelsea, I think...
They finished third.
They finished third. They had no chance. And they jubilate. I remember that day. Jose Mourinho and the Chelsea players.
He came to
Mourinho was sliding on the park and stuff.
Mourinho took that. He came to spoil their party. If you remember, he played a super defensive formation. They hadn't played the whole season.
And then he just prevented Liverpool from winning. This is the time Liverpool will have to remind themselves of that. Go to the Bridge as champions and prevent them or contribute to preventing them from going to the Champions League. If I'm the coach of Liverpool, I'll play that clip. I'll go and bring that Mourinho clip. We were about to win the league. They had no chance. They prevented us from winning the league. Go prevent them from going to the Champions League. Simple.
Thoughts on that game,
I mean, they played very well, like Coach said. Congratulations to them. And like I said earlier in the show, they've exceeded expectations so far. But then again, I always say, look at the games they have and look at the games other people have. Forest are playing Brentford. They're at home. They are going to play West Ham. They're going to play Leicester. And then they are going to play Chelsea themselves. Yeah. That's 4 of their remaining games.
And on record, they are playing Chelsea at their home.
Yeah. And we know Forest are a very difficult team to break down. I expect them to beat Brentford, Leicester, and West Ham comfortably. Very easily. And that's the difference. I look at Chelsea's games and I don't see comfortable wins. That's why I have them out of the top 5 for the Champions League. I look at City's games, much easier to win. I look at Newcastle's home form. I'm not sure about Newcastle away from home, but at least when Newcastle are at home, they get the job done.
Don't look like they'll lose any
Exactly.
games.
So there's nothing. The thing is, Chelsea are just not as convincing. And their fans think that it's personal. You don't like that. The team is just not convincing. If their team was convincing, when we are talking about our Chelsea in the title race, they'd be where Arsenal are right now at the very least. So for me, I'm still not convinced. Look, I don't think it's necessarily Enzo Maresca's fault. Like we said, the recruitment in terms of centre-backs, goalkeepers, and to a lesser extent striker has not been where it should be for the money they spend. Because £1 billion, and you don't have a striker that you know that, okay, this guy, if he plays the whole season, he'll get us 20 goals. Yeah. You look at the centre-backs, you're not sure. Look, you loan Chalobah out, you have to bring him back. You look at the keeper, you drop Sanchez. So, like I said, if Chelsea make the Champions League, I respect Enzo Maresca a lot more because for me, this squad is not fit for purpose. In the sense that we know we've seen Chelsea team before. Yeah. This is not like we don't know Chelsea from anywhere. We've seen Chelsea under Conte. We've seen Chelsea under Mourinho twice. We've seen Chelsea under Ancelotti. Even when Avram Grant was there, we saw Chelsea. Yeah. They were a solid team, very difficult to break down, quality players in all positions. This is not the same Chelsea. So for me, I think the standard we know Chelsea to be, they are not at that standard. And for the money they spend, they are not there yet. So I don't expect them to make the Champions League. And I think that's where I'll blame Enzo Maresca, because they were in a good position about halfway through the season when we were talking about are Chelsea a title contender.
They themselves at the time didn't believe they deserved to be where they were.
And I think that's part of why the standards have dropped. Because if they had said, look, we didn't plan for the title at the beginning of the season, but now we are here. We take it one game at a time.
We'll go for
you push forward, you are going for it. You'd be a lot closer, and we wouldn't be saying, we'd be talking about Arsenal, and I would say Nottingham Forest and Liverpool all being the champions. So I'll say that there's one place left for people to qualify for. That's what I would have argued. But here we are.
Well, let me read a few messages and then maybe we can take our first break. So Benjamin Ansah from Liberia says, congrats to my dear Liverpool 20th league title and counting. Charlie, he says, even if I'm out of light here in Liberia, I make sure to purchase gasoline and put in my generator just to follow you guys. Kudos for always giving us exquisite analysis from Coach and Susu and super presentation from you, Ben. So big ups to Ben Ansah in Liberia. This one here says, what happens to the 5th position in the Premier League if Man United wins the Europa League? Can 6 clubs from the Premier League qualify to the Champions League? Zimbo,
no problem.
Selassie with that one.
5th is confirmed.
The first 5 will go.
Yeah.
So if United were to win or Spurs were to win the Europa League,
they'll go.
There's an added
slot
to them.
This one here says, evening, my favorite sports crew. Did I hear Coach saying African teams on the world's biggest stage tend to lack concentration at the 89th minute? To me, they play it till the 70th minute and from 75 minutes onwards. Then they lack concentration. And this is due to the fact that cheating is too much on the African soil. I think these are very upbeat.
It's not even
when you look at, I mean, we saw Senegal at the World Cup. We saw Cameroon. We've seen our own Black Stars at the World Cup. There were times where all we needed to do was to stay focused.
Yep.
Maybe he thinks that after 75 minutes
that's
to
when
go
it
there.
starts.
But at the end of the day, if my team is losing the game with 15 minutes to go, 15 minutes is a lot of time in football. Anything can happen. But when you are throwing it away with a minute or some few seconds to go, that is where it looks very, very painful. And we've seen that happen several times at the World Cup.
And to add to that, one of the players in the Cameroon 1990 team, he said the exact same thing, that African teams, he feels like they are naive.
Yeah.
That they play very well. And when it gets into the late part of the game,
overly excited.
That's when things go to, that's when things fall apart. So,
well, let me read more messages. This one here from Sir Lord says, I like watching the show and can't afford to miss it. Watching from Abesewa in the Ahafwano Southeast constituency. Okay. This one here from Prepara from Tanoso says, I congratulate my team Liverpool for being crowned champions of England today. And Oslot and his men have done what the pundits thought they could not do. You never walk alone, indeed. Sally Al-Hassan from Brekum says, I'm happy that Arsenal and the 2 other London teams will give us the guard of honor before the season ends. You never walk alone.
Wow.
This one says, I'm in support of Nimli. Go Arsenal, go. Ray from Ablekuma. This one here says, good evening, Ben and crew. Really enjoying Scorecard all the way from Asin Asamankese. My darling club, FC Barca, is winning the treble this season. And kudos to the players for doing the massacre against Real Madrid from IGP. Mickey Mouse trophy still. Anyway, let's take a break here on the show. When we come back, we'll get into some Liverpool stuff. They were in really good form against Spurs to pick up their Premier League title. Let's do a quick turnaround. When we come back, Scorecard continues. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's now get to that game involving Liverpool Football Club and Spurs. Liverpool picked today of all days to put out one of their best performances of the season in the Premier League. 5-1 is how this game ended. Let's get the highlights. That title-winning feeling. Wow. 20 for Anna Slot and his guys in the first attempt.
They don't even know how to jubilate.
What are you talking about?
Hey.
No, you don't do the champagne and stuff today because there's a lot to happen.
Oh, today warm up. Today is warm up.
Alice,
You haven't celebrated in 13 years, but you want to tell somebody how to celebrate.
if I see a better celebration, I'll see.
Oh, please.
It's as simple as that. Look, we haven't said that. By far, they've been the better team. By far, they've been the better team of the season. They've played the better football. Their players have maintained some level of decent consistency.
Yep.
the manager walks in at a time where nobody knew exactly what he was bringing on board. Jurgen Klopp left him a proper rebuilt team. He didn't even do any major sign apart from the Italian international that he brought and who, again,
Has done nothing really.
has been used very, very sparingly
Yep.
throughout the season. So he's virtually stuck to the
team he
Jurgen
came
Klopp's
to
team.
meet, yep.
The only unique change was the boldness in deciding that Gravenberch will be that DM, will be the one to sit in front of the back four, and because he wanted a control way of doing things. The Japanese international will win it and then quickly let's go on the transition because technically he's not gifted.
Yeah.
Gravenberch can hold it up, can dance around it a bit, and then take the steam out of the game. So everything he tweaked worked out. And again, Mohamed Salah, Liverpool cannot be where they are or wouldn't have been where they are
Nope.
without Mohamed Salah. I was listening to the commentator. He said, I think they've scored over 75, 76 before today. So let's say they've scored 80 plus goals. And he's contributed to 60%.
Yeah.
Other scoring, he
Oh,
scored
assistant.
28.
He scored about 27 and assisted like
Before today's or 27.
Yeah, and
so
then
28 now.
and then he had assisted like 17.
17. So his goal contribution
The assist numbers are
is
crazy for
over
me.
60%. And of course, so if you have such a player in your team and the Jota, the Diaz's goal, that of
Gakpo, yeah.
that of McAllister, by
Don't
far
forget Darwin Núñez. He scored.
Darwin Núñez's goal. So everybody have contributed something decent
Yeah.
to bringing this team where they are at the moment. The manager has been absolutely brilliant. My only major disappointment is that they've played so well. I think they should have added another title to this, either the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, or at least gone a bit further
In the Champions League.
Champions League. Because if you look at the way they topped the Champions League group stage,
Yeah.
maybe the draw wasn't that favorable to them. They met PSG at the wrong time where there happened, or there seems to be a bit more fatigue in their team. And that is just understandable. But having said that, look, they've been brilliant. They deserve it. And for me, we wait to see what they will be next season. They've succeeded in getting Salah and VVD, Virgil van Dijk, to stay at the club.
Yeah.
Alexander-Arnold definitely is going to go. I think they will need to do proper recruitment on their laterals. I think Tsimikas and then Robertson in particular, I think he's gone past his best years.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that they are seriously looking at the boy from Bournemouth. Is it the
Milos
Kerkez?
Kerkez.
But I think he'll be a super replacement for them because he's one player I love watching a lot.
And a lot of energy.
And a lot of energy. And again, they'll need to look at that striking role. Jota, overly injury prone.
Yeah.
Mohamed Salah is there, but somebody will have to.
In his final years.
In the final years, somebody
Núñez
will-
not reliable.
at all. And somebody will have
I
to.
think
take up.
just to sorry to interrupt you. I think Núñez's time at Liverpool is up.
I think he will
If you
leave.
saw that post on social media, he kind of posted this about basically it's like almost like it doesn't matter what I do, I don't get to play. Something to that effect,
So,
you know. And he later deleted it. But when you tweet something like that, it shows that he's in a bad place.
Yeah, with the handlers of the team, with the coach, and I think he's a good striker. I've always told you that I love him so much, but just that he's overly in a rush when he's in the box. So I want to see exactly what will come with it. Is he going to get another proper DM? But on the face of it, is Alisson going to stay beyond next season? They bought a
There's that
goalkeeper.
as well.
Mama,
So
you
a lot of question marks.
Yes, so I really want to see how Arne Slot as a manager would dish out the cash, because clearly you cannot be this good in the best league in the world and not show yourself properly in Europe. I think that is the biggest disappointment I have with whatever they've done this season. Liverpool, in my view, are that good.
They should have
to
done better.
at least gotten to the last four of the Champions League.
Your thoughts on the season they've had, standout players. What strikes you from what they've done this campaign?
Before I go on, I want to greet our boss, Mr. Bernard Avile. You know, I know he's
but-
watching
I
the
think he
show.
has already changed this thing.
No, but he will have to organize something, and then in celebration of their
No, he
20th
has
league
to.
too. That one, tell him, I say, boss, if you're watching, I know
He's
you're
watching,
watching the
he's
program.
watching, he's watching.
It's a non-negotiable. It is not something
20 titles don't
to
come
negotiate.
around,
This is
you know.
2-0, 20th league title. You've equaled the record of league titles in the Premiership. So it should come with something decent. But please make sure that it will happen when I'm around. Please. No will be handling it.
So I think what stood out to me is the change in style. I think Coach has touched on it a bit. Going from that, rock and roll style to more like a symphony or an orchestra. Very calm and collected football, patience. And what I like is, and his slot is he's very pragmatic. He can sometimes take a lead and then cool the game down, sit back, don't give up too much space, you know. And we've not seen that from Liverpool in Jurgen Klopp's time. Jurgen Klopp is not a pragmatist at all. I think his game is, we are going to overwhelm the other team with energy. We are going to play harder than them, run harder. You know, it's like that Kanye West song, better, faster, stronger. Actually, Daft Punk, let me say, not Kanye West. So it's that mentality, and it's a completely different mentality. And to take players who we know them for that, and kind of be able to see who can adapt, who can play that way, adjust, and the team looks even better. I think that's very impressive. I think their style, they still had that counter-attacking DNA. They can use it when they need to use it, but they were able to kind of mix and match. And I think that's very impressive, to take a team that is so fixed in their ways, so known for playing a certain way, and come and put your mark on their team. It's very impressive. So I think, really, we've spoken about how well Mohamed Salah has played, but I think we have to give so much credit to Arne Slot, because nobody had them in their top two.
Very devastated to Premier League, and in the first attempt is crazy.
And if you look at no one here thought they'd win the league.
Nope.
If you look in England, no one there thought they'd win the league.
Nobody predicted they win it.
I think the only people who thought they might win the league were the most die-hard Liverpool fans. They were the only ones who believed. So it just shows how impressive this is, because it's different when you are a Man City or an Arsenal, who everyone was saying is Man City or Arsenal, it's Man City or Arsenal. If one of them wins the league, it's way less impressive than a team no one mentioned. So I think credit to Arne Slot, because he's defied expectations. So kudos to him. And it will be interesting to see whether they're able to maintain it next season, how other teams adapt, what signings they make. I'm very excited to see what Liverpool have to offer, because I didn't see this coming at all.
Well, lots of people didn't see it coming, but Arne Slot has managed to achieve it. 20 league titles for Liverpool in his very first attempt. So he's added number 20 in his first attempt. So congrats to him and the lads. Let's do back-to-back highlights of the Premier League games. Let's go to AFC Bournemouth versus Man United. Ghana's Antoine Semenyo was doing his thing in that game. And then we will do Brighton and Hove Albion versus West Ham, where Kudus Mohammed also grabbed his 4th goal of the Premier League campaign. Goals don't come much crazier than that, and the crazy celebration to boot as well. 3-2 is how it ended, but let's talk about West Ham United and how poor they've been. So they are right above the relegation zone. They've been supremely poor. I think they've gone close to 6-7 games without a win. That's how they are finishing the campaign. Graham Potter, perhaps getting the same excuse as all the others who took the job in the middle of the season, say that he hasn't had enough time to implement whatever it is.
I think they'll count themselves very, very lucky that there were 3 other teams that were so bad.
Yeah.
But throughout the season, they've looked a relegation-bound team. The football under Lopetegui was completely bad.
It was much better than this.
I agree with you. Although that one was very bad. Now, Porter came, you know my stand against on him. I just don't trust him in his way of doing things at all. But one thing that has been so significant or clear for everybody to see when it comes to West Ham is the fact that the team is a lazy team. They are a very, very lazy team to the extent that their players are always walking on the pitch. They don't run. They don't show a bit more commitment to the cause. And when you need them to even protect a lead in this game, they led till when?
Late, very late.
It was 184th minute.
And then
they considered 2 goals in 3 minutes.
In 3 minutes. Maybe that last goal was one out of the moon. You asked Baleba to repeat that.
Yeah.
Maybe throughout his footballing career.
Probably never scores it again.
He never scores a completely delicious goal like that again. But you ask yourself, where was the marking?
Yep.
If you look at the highlight, he picked up the ball.
We're just standing.
And the gap, that's what I said, that West Ham, they are a lazy team.
Yep.
Because every other team at this level, a midfielder picks up the ball and the team is already 10 yards and beyond. The nearest player in going to press the ball is 10 yards beyond. Hey, what sort of team is this? And if you are the manager, you'll be asking yourself, are these my boys? When they go for the training section, what do they actually do? Are they just sleeping on the job? Or there's no proper training regime that will get them to work a bit harder? That is unacceptable. Look,
and Potter was furious in the
he should be, because I'm not having a sober reflection on that goal.
Yeah.
Yes, you want to credit Baleba for that brilliant finish, but he was not under any form of pressure.
Acres of space.
And I'm looking at when he picked up the ball, the gap in between the closest West Ham player and him. So look at it. He controlled it, touched it, and then picked his spot. When you defend like this at this level, you get paid. And they are one of the teams, including my own Manchester United, that have virtually positioned themselves in such a way that to win football games, they have to be scoring 3 goals every week.
Yep.
3 or more. And at this level, you cannot win games if we just saw Chelsea win 1-0. There are weeks, or there should be weeks in this game
Where you can
look,
1-0.
one goal is more than enough to wrap up a 3 maximum point. The West Ham, clearly, together with Amorim, I think Porter will be given a proper scrutiny after the summer. Once you are given money to bring in your own people, you've got a decent preseason, things will have to change. The problem is that there's 100 million on the table from the people at Saudi. Would they take the money, provided the Ghanaian is interested in going? Would they take the money and then use that to build the team? I think looking at West Ham, they may fancy the money.
Yeah,
but
especially since they haven't done well, they're not going to Europe.
Exactly.
They'll lose a lot of revenue.
Exactly. How much did they pay for Kudus? Something in the range of
35, 40 million.
So if they're going to gain in excess of 60 million, why not? I think they will be ready to take the money. But again, like I said, it will come down to the young man, what his ambitions are and whether he wants to go. But look, they've been terribly poor.
I just want to add a little bit to what Coach said. You should have seen Fulkrug's press conference last week. I don't know if it was
he
last
called out his
Remember
teammates.
the
German.
They drew with West Ham.
Yeah.
They drew with Southampton,
yes.
And they took the lead. And he said that he doesn't understand what they did after their goal.
They are too
Half
lazy.
the team was pressing. Half the
The
team
rest
was
were
sitting
walking.
back.
They were just watching.
He asked, is it that the manager doesn't care? Is it that the other players don't care? And he said you have to ask them. That's not a good sign. There should be a certain level of anger and desire in the team. And even speaking about the Baleba goal, even tactically, what were they trying to do? Because
I don't get it.
It's not like you are winning the match
Nope.
and you are trying to sit back and it's a 2-2, it's a draw.
Yep.
Look at where you're on the team.
And you are
It's a
away from
draw.
home.
It's a draw. Why are you so far away? Because you can win the game. This game is winnable.
Yep.
Why aren't your attackers a bit, closer to the halfway line? Because if you have maybe Kudus and Bowen as a front to kind of pressing Baleba and Co, if you win the ball, those two are great ball carriers. You can push the ball forward and win the game. It's not like the game was not a winnable game, but some way, somehow, it's like, and like Coach said, the amount of space.
I think in their minds they are shut down. They were a little I watched the game. They were a little shell-shocked by the equalizer, and so a part of them thought, you know what, we thought we were going to win the game. Now that it's an equalizer, let's just take the 1 point and go home. And Brighton had other ideas of their own.
So the best way to do that is not to leave people all alone by themselves.
And let's be fair to them. I can understand, okay, I'm thinking Baleba, he has to pass.
Exactly.
I get it, but you don't give him that much space to even pick out the pass, float it into the box, whatever he's going to. I think there's just something wrong with that team. And considering what Fulkrug said, it might not be Potter himself, it might be the players.
Yeah.
Because the fact that Fulkrug was so upset, and you don't see that kind of,
Don't forget there have been a few dressing room bust-ups at West Ham.
Yeah.
Under Lopetegui, there was one players-only meeting about player attitude, about all of that. So they've definitely had their internal issues.
And look, in the Premier League, in terms of revenue, they're about 7th or 8th.
Yes.
So they have a very big stadium. So there's a decent amount of money coming into West Ham. So this performance, they are not a team that should be finishing 17th or 16th or whatever. They're a team that just 2-3 seasons ago won a European trophy. They've played Europa League semi-finals in the last 5 years.
Yes.
It's not good enough. It really isn't. So, like Coach said, Graham Potter, I think, luckily for him, I think he signed a long-term contract. But I don't think this squad is so bad that they'll go down. But he needs to make progress. If he can't finish in the top half next season, I don't think he's the man for the job. Because this is a top half team, for sure.
I think he needs to ship out close to 12 of the players. They are too lazy.
That wouldn't happen. That's just too much for a team like West Ham to stomach.
They're too lazy. They can't run. Even our own Mohamed Kudus, when he loses the ball, he's walking.
Yeah, and because I think he in the team's pecking order, he has a very high standing in the team. So probably does whatever he likes. Nobody scolds him, gets away with everything. Anyway, let's take a break on the show. When we come back, we'll touch a bit on that Man United game, and then we'll get into the FA Cup semi-finals before we move into some other leagues as well. Stay with us here on the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's touch briefly on that Man United game with Bournemouth 1-1. Semenyo getting on the score sheet. Højlund rescuing a point for the Red Devils. Coach, United season, definitely one they've written off right now. Bournemouth are falling off a little. I thought they would get into at least a Conference League. There's still enough games to be able to do that, but how you evaluate their chances based on their recent form?
I think it's still possible, but I think they'll have to do better in their next or their last 4 games to be able to end the ride. All they need to do is to win games. Because at the end of the day, if they are to win games, I think they have some difficult fixtures. I think they're playing Man City, they're playing, I think Liverpool, and they're playing some other team. A bit difficult for them, but we've seen them in the big games this season. If only they can rediscover that form that they took to Newcastle, that got them humbled Newcastle at St. James's Park, that form that
the beat Forest as well.
The beat Forest convincingly. That is the sort of form they want to bring into these games. On the part of Manchester United, like you rightly said, the season in the Premiership is gone. It's been a very, very bad, poor season. But for some of us, I did say that I expect them to lose a minimum of 15 games because I could clearly tell from Amorim's way of doing things, his system, the players were just not suitable for that. Now, if you could bring in such a manager, he making it very clear that this is the way I'm going to play my football. The best you can do is to support him to play the football he wants to play. I think all they are looking and hoping and praying for is a good show in the Europa League. But they have a very, very difficult tide against Athletic Club of Bilbao. They are a very, very good team. I think
they're a very good coach.
They are favorite over 2 legs because technically they've got a lot of
and the finals is at their home ground,
exactly.
So they are extra
motivated. So the only worry is that they need to get a result in that first leg. They are playing home on Thursday. They need to get a result. What they don't want, they don't want to come to Old Trafford and come and force the issues there. I think if they were to get any form of win, 2-0, 2-1, they will stand a better chance of going to the final. And that would be so bad on the part of Manchester United. It's like they need to win the Europa Cup to attract some proper players into this setup. And about 10 players, Eriksen, Johnny Evans, Houghton, Rashford, Anthony, Malacia, a lot of the guys, close to 10 of them, contracts are up and some of them will have to just leave in a proper recruitment. My only worry is that he's a single-digit billionaire man who is handling
Don't worry, Ratcliffe will sort everything out.
We don't need it. The Glazers, they've got money. They just have to go and dish the hands that they've done over the years. Now that there's a proper recruitment team, pay the proper money and bring the players in.
Just on Bournemouth, I believe the way they play, they are tired. Because since February 15th, I believe they've won, is it 1 Premier League game or 2 Premier League games? That's very bad. Because you are doing so well, and then from February, it's like you can't win games.
They need a lot of energy.
Exactly. So I feel like what they need going into next season is they need to invest in better fitness coaches, better sports scientists to kind of help them manage their fitness throughout the
They
season.
have a new facility that should help.
Exactly. We saw the pictures of that very nice facility. So I think that when you look at the way they are playing, I think they have a very good coach. He's a smart coach, but the fitness part, I think there's too much wear and tear on their players. And a few other things. I think they need to be a bit better at breaking down low blocks. I think they struggle a bit when they have to control their game. They're very good when they have to,
transition
play.
and run.
Because I saw a stat that the games that they've had, the 5 games they've had the most possession, they've picked up, is it 6 or 7 points? And the 5 games they've had the least possession, they've got 11 points. Something like that. So it shows that they're a bit better when they are not supposed to be a protagonist. So they need to work on that too. But I think there's a very interesting project, very nice ideas, and it's elevating some of these players, because I don't think 2 years ago we would have been talking about Semenyo going to a top team.
Nope.
But this is the impact of a good coach platforming you and making you look good. Because if you think about it now, the way we are talking about Semenyo is how we were talking about Kudus last year or 2 years ago. It just goes to show that the environment is everything. So congratulations to Bournemouth regardless. This is probably going to be their first season finishing the top half in their history. That's still a big deal, even if they don't get into Europe. But it's a bit of a disappointment considering where they were before this bad run.
They're a strange team. When they had half their team injured and they used their reserves, they were winning. When their regular starters came back into the team, that's when they slowed down. I'm not even sure how that works, but let's get to the FA Cup semi-finals where some really good goals were scored. My good friend Eberechi Eze was up to his few antics. Ismail Assar also has been red hot as long as his manager himself, the man Oliver Glasner. So Palace finishing the season on a stronger note than they started. They were very poor when the season started. They were up against cup specialist Unai Emery and Aston Villa at Wembley, and this is what happened. Check it out. Let me start with you, Susu, on this one. I thought that cup specialist Unai Emery would at least see this out, but it looks like Palace really have been Aston Villa's kryptonite.
No, you see, the problem is that Fabian Hetzler is the Unai Emery specialist. That's the problem. Because look, they've played 5 games since he came to England. Hetzler has won 4 and drawn the other 1. And all the games that have been out not at Villa Park is 3-0 here at Wembley, 2 at Selhurst Park, 4-1 and 5-0. So it looks like whenever they meet, Unai Emery just has a bad time. And he's had a bad time again. So I think that it was one of those things where whatever Hetzler is doing...
You mean Glasner?
Glasner, sorry. My mistake. Sorry, Mr. Glasner. I got it mixed up there. So whatever Glasner is doing, it works perfectly well against Unai Emery. And it just seems he can't figure it out.
They knocked them out of the Carabao Cup and they've knocked them out of the FA Cup.
So it looks like he just can't figure it out, because if you are telling me that every time you meet him and it's not at home, you lose by at least 3 goals. Clearly, it's a stylistic problem. And look, Mateta also missed a penalty. So clearly...
They had a goal disallowed.
Look at that. Look, it just goes to show there just seems to be a stylistic issue that Emery... Because I heard about this during the match that they played 4 games. Glasner had won 3. So I was thinking that, okay, how can Emery kind of figure this out? But it looks like it was the worst possible matchup for Unai Emery. And they would have done better if they had to face Man City probably. Or Nottingham Forest. But it's just unfortunate. And it looks like Crystal Palace are going to the final. And they'll be playing Man City, who beats them heavily a few weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see how that... Because they lost, what was it, 5-0? Or 5-1?
5-2.
Yeah. 5-2.
It was a heavy scoreline.
It was a heavy scoreline. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Great credit to Glasner. I think that's what they brought him in. You're a former Europa League winner. They bring you in because of your expertise to kind of take this team to another level. And I think the Palace fans are very happy with this season for sure.
The last time they were in the FA Cup final was 2015-2016.
When
where Jesse Lingard, Alan Pardew did the dance, Jesse Lingard won it for Man United.
So when the game started and I saw the shape of Aston Villa, I thought Unai Emery was his own undoing. Because truth be told, I don't know, I just didn't understand why he would ask Morgan Rogers
to play
out wide. He's been by far your best player.
In the middle of the park.
He carries the ball. He drives the team forward through the channels. And then you had Asensio playing in the number 10 role right behind Oli Watkins. I would have thought that if you've gotten your 2 DMs in the team, there's Magans or Migan or whatever it's called, Bring your best player in the. I don't understand some coaches. Why should my best player be made to adjust?
Yeah.
The one who is likely to impact the game for me is not being made comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like Argentina
trying to tell
Messi to adjust for who? And I think Morgan Rogers has earned the right to
He's been
play.
their best player this season.
By far, he's earned the right to play in his best position. Because it is when he does, that is where Aston Villa as a team are very good on the attacking sense. And then I think Konsa and those people, they must be spoken to. You see, they are playing as if they've arrived. This is at the village, the John Terry of our time. What is Konsa and Co doing at the back?
And Konsa.
Mentality-wise, you are not there. Technically, you are not England's first choice centre back. He picks up the ball very slow, very lethargic, directing people. You go here, let me go, as if he's the one in charge. Now, when it comes to putting in your defending, then you are a bit suspect. I think they came into the game and it was shocking to me because statistically, the record shows that this is a team that always tend to beat you and beat you good.
Yep.
So the mentality should have changed. They came into the game very slow, very lethargic, want to play.
It was a very dominant performance from Palace.
I couldn't believe it.
Like, very dominant.
Villa had over 65% of the possession of the ball, but fruitlessly,
they created almost
nothing
nothing
with it. But anytime Palace got it, 1, 2, 3, Sarr is on the move, and the defenders are in 6s and 7. I am very happy for Crystal Palace. I wish they go to the final and win it.
Well, big shout out to Adam Wharton. I think he really bossed that midfield in that game. Yeah.
I think the best player was the boy from Asia.
Ismail Assar.
No, the one from Asia.
Kamada. Yeah, he had a really good
Look,
game.
he had a very good game, and the referee was a bit considerate because he committed a lot of fouls, tactical fouls. He got his first yellow card in the 80-something minutes.
Actually been sent
I couldn't believe
and
it.
we have to talk about Kamada because he went to Lazio and he had issues with Sarri. Sarri said I didn't want him and things because he left Frankfurt on a free transfer. So a lot of teams were looking at him. He ended up at Lazio. It didn't really work out. He came to Crystal Palace with a coach that he won the Europa League with. And he's not really been able to have the impact he would have liked. So I'm happy for him that he was able to stand.
He was that good.
He just like Ismail Assar have had a decent second round of the season.
Because
Ismail Assar especially, his good form has coincided with Palace beginning to pick up wins and really getting along.
It was clear that Glasner wasn't sure how to configure his front three with Mateta, Eze, because Nketiah was playing that Sarr role for some time. They were mixing things up. I think maybe Mateta was a bit tired after the Olympics, so he couldn't start the season. He didn't hit the ground running. Because now Mateta's scored, I think his goals have started coming in the second half of the season. I think in 2020 he scored like 12 goals or something, but the first half of the season he scored like 4. So I think the team was just needed some time to kind of figure things out. So. And it was the same thing last season because their second half of last season was very good.
I was just about saying that they tend to do better in the next half of the season. Let's get to the game between Forest and Manchester City. Man City winning by 2-0, booking a place in the final against Crystal Palace. Let's get the highlight. So straightforward work for Manchester City. Just snap thoughts on that.
Pep needs a silverware. It's been a disappointing season by their very, very high standard. So I clearly understand. At least they will get Champions League football through the league. And then something to put on the table that says that even when we were this bad.
I was just about to say that. That's a team with real standards.
Yeah, even when we were this bad.
Even at our worst, we had an FA Cup to show.
That just shows what Pep has done to this club, that this is the standards of the club now. But I think Anthony Elanga is going to have a long night.
Yeah, man.
I think if he scores that, the game changes. I think he really...
That's where the game actually changed.
Because I don't think... Because from what I saw in the game, in the highlights, I didn't see much from Forest. And that was one of the very few good chances they got.
Yeah.
I think he panicked. I think he was afraid to use his left, to use his right. But when the ball is like, then you use your right, it's moving away from the goal.
Like we always say, he's playing for Forest, so he will not be properly scrutinized on that.
Yeah.
If he's playing for United or a big team, he missed that. You're under the radar all day.
Yeah. Anyway, let's change directions and let's head to Spain. The King's Cup final was happening, aka the Copa del Rey, and it was between Spain's two biggest clubs, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Before the game, a lot of shenanigans about a referee Real Madrid didn't want, threatened to boycott the game. Eventually, the game did happen. Very competitive game. Looked like it would head to penalties. Barcelona won it right at the death. Extra time is when they won this game. Let's get the highlights. Barcelona picking up their first piece of silverware for the season. Real Madrid will feel the pain of losing the cup final, especially in that manner. Let me take your thoughts on that.
This is proper dominance. Over a season, in 3 games, before this one yesterday, they considered 9 goals in 2 games, so plus 3, that is actually 12 goals in 3 games. Against the same opposition, against your same top rival. That is unacceptable. I think Real Madrid, look, in that first half, they were just not organized. Everything about them was all over the place.
Yep.
And that reflected in the goal they conceded. That first goal, Jesus Christ. You don't leave the arc of your box that open, that free for the quality of Pedri to come there all alone by himself.
Yeah.
Nobody putting pressure. He scores that 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
We could all see the goal. The moment the pass was laid, so whoever
I was
gets
wondering
there,
who was coming.
who was coming. And look at it. Look at that. Look at that. Nobody. Straight into the back.
Surprised my producer has cutscenes of this particular goal.
Nobody.
We haven't had cutscenes of any game so far.
This
Amazing.
is deserving of that. You understand? Look at, and then one thing that is a bit worrying, if you're a Real Madrid fan, is the fact that the team is not scoring from open play.
Yeah.
From set pieces.
Yeah.
Yes, I accept that set piece is part of the game.
It's unacceptable.
But
It speaks
if you
to a
look at the
larger
quality
problem.
they've got, I think they've got a bigger problem there.
Yeah,
I think,
speaks
Coach,
to a larger
I'll
problem.
touch on that open play thing. I
And
want
then-
to say Vinicius Junior, his decision making the final third
It's always been like that.
was very poor
It's-
in this game.
it's
And I
always
think
been
that
poor.
if he had made much better decisions, we wouldn't be having this discussion about open play. Seriously. Because
Yes.
I think there were moments in that game where
Yeah.
he
All
got
he
the
needed
ball
to do
in
was
the
to pick
box
the pass.
and pick the pass, take the right shot. So I think that the open play thing, I think we are making a bit too much of it, in my opinion.
No,
but
but
that's just
if he's not making the right decision and he's always
But you
there.
see, it's buttressed by the goalkeeper's point when they were eliminated from the Champions.
Yes.
Courtois says that
They are
we
not
cannot
playing as
hope
a team.
we cannot hope to cross the ball all the time and watch things happen. We must
Exactly.
play better cohesively
Exactly.
as a team. That just
And
speaks
look,
to a team that don't have ideas.
2-1. At 2-1 with like 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
You expect them to see it beyond the finish line. You expect them to see that. And at 2-1, I thought they were winning it. But look at the
yeah.
pass from Yamin Yamal.
I think Rudiger's physical condition contributed.
No, but he's not going. That cannot be used as an.
No, I'm just saying
if
that-
he's not fit, let him sit down.
Yeah.
But
Once you put him there, there's a job to be done.
But
That
I
is
think,
the
I think when
problem
you look
here.
at Alaba and Jesus Vallejo on the
And
bench,
so you had Alaba.
So you pick your poison, and they pick their poison.
Exactly, and he pays the price. And on the last goal, I think the young man from Morocco, he was called ball watching.
Yeah.
This is what we call ball watching. When the pass was given, you go and meet the pass. You don't wait for the pass.
Yeah. And Modric made
You don't
himself
wait for
very
the
clear. He was very upset.
Yeah, he will be upset. Look at it.
Yeah.
That is your ball. What are you waiting for?
I think
And he slipped.
I know,
He slipped.
No, he
I know-
didn't slip.
I know you and
He was waiting for the ball.
Yeah, I know Ben, you are not happy with the pass, but if he had moved towards that pass,
That is what you call ball
Clear.
watching.
You're supposed to go and meet the pass.
I want to talk about what Madrid did right compared to the other games. I think not playing with 3 forwards, they looked a lot better. And I've
Okay.
said this before that playing with 3 forwards has been their downfall in a lot of big games
so
this
they-
season.
they kept it a bit
and
tighter.
Look, he started with Rodrigo and Vinicius. He took off Rodrigo at halftime, brought on Mbappe. And the second half, they were okay.
Yeah.
Even though you like guys said they scored the set piece goal, I think Vinicius and Mbappe had some moments where like
They were a bit closer together.
They might have scored if things were different and stuff. So I think Ancelotti trying to kind of massage egos as well as caused them this season. Because the truth is, he knew that because of the season Rodrigo had last season, when he had become a starter and a key player,
You can
it's
bench
difficult to drop him. But
Yeah.
truth be told, that team does not work with 3 forwards, and it's cost him his job.
Well, there's one more Clasico to go for the season. Hopefully, Real Madrid can rescue that. Let me just read 2 more messages to go. This one says, Ben, I'm a big fan of all your shows, but you don't talk about my darling club Bayern. They win the league probably next week, so we'll talk about them. And then last one says, between United, Spurs, and West Ham, who performed poorly this season? Greetings to all the people in China.
Spurs have
Cash
lost
to
19
Steve
games.
from China. Yeah,
They've lost 19
Spurs
games.
have been terrible. Thank you guys out there for sending in messages. Thank you for making time to watch the show as well. Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you, Susu. And same time next week, Scorecard will be back on your screens.